Hello, and welcome to the My Heart and Mind podcast, where it's all about creating the feel-good mindset so you can make the most of every moment and reap the benefits of getting the most happiness out of life. And now, over to your host, Sally Crawley.
If you've had a heart attack, heart surgery, or a cardiac arrest, or your life has been changed by a cardiac diagnosis, this space is for you. This podcast is about more than surviving. It's about gently rebuilding trust in your body, steadying your mind, and learning how to live well again, even with everything you've been through. Together, we'll explore the emotional side of heart recovery, the fear, the fatigue, the what-ifs, and how to work with your thoughts, feelings, and nervous system so you can make the necessary lifestyle changes, feel calmer, stronger, and more like yourself again. Take a breath. You're safe here. Hello and welcome to a myth-busting episode. Do you ever read things on social media and wonder if it's true or not? I always find it really worrying when it's connected to health or well-being. And in this day and age with AI, it's really hard to tell sometimes with images too. I've been fooled a couple of times. Well, today I'm going to talk about something that may be fiction or it may be fact. You may have already read about it and seen it on social media, and from time to time it does come up in the press. So not to keep you in suspense, let's get to it. Let's talk about a curious crease. Have you ever looked closely at your earlobe? Really looked, and noticed a diagonal crease running from one side to the other. You might have heard this referred to as Frank's crease or Frank's sign, and online claims can range from it's a silent heart attack warning to it's just aging skin. I always thought mine was down to wearing too heavier earrings. Now, before we go any further, I'd love to know how many of us actually have a Frank's crease. I definitely have on both my earlobes. I've popped a picture up on my Facebook group, My Heart and Mind Cardiac Community. And as I've shown you mine, why don't you come over and join me and show me your ears with or without a crease? To find my community, it's www.myheartandmind.co.uk/community. But what's really going on here? Does this crease mean trouble for your heart, or is it just another internet myth that can fuel anxiety? So let's unpack the science together in a language that makes sense, especially if you've lived through a heart attack or heart surgery and trying to separate fact from fear. So Frank's crease is also called diagonal earlobe crease, or DELC. Is a single diagonal line across the earlobe, and it can show up in one or both ears. It was first described in 1973 by Dr. Saunders Frank. He noticed it in patients with coronary artery disease. Some people think it might offer a clue about cardiovascular health, but the scientific evidence is far from definitive. Some studies do find a link. A number of the studies have reported that people with a diagonal earlobe crease appear somewhat more likely to have coronary artery disease, CAD, or higher cardiovascular risk scores. Autopsy research observed more creases in people who died of cardiovascular causes compared to others that didn't. These findings have helped keep Frank's sign in scientific conversations. But context matters a lot. The association is modest and not reliable as a test. When researchers look closely at all the evidence together, including multiple studies with thousands of patients, the message becomes clearer. Diagonal earlobe creases don't consistently identify who has or doesn't have heart disease. Sensitivity and specificity. Statistical ways to measure how good the sign is at detecting disease vary wildly and are generally too weak to be used alone for a diagnosis. In real clinical practice, doctors don't and shouldn't diagnose heart disease based on an earlobe crease alone. In one large study, even though people with bilateral creases were more likely to have obstructive coronary disease, The crease didn't perform much better than traditional risk factors like smoking, diabetes, or high cholesterol. So, is it fact or is it fiction? Well, this is my honest summary. It's real, the crease exists and has been formally described in medical literature. There is some association, the key word is some, with heart disease in certain studies, especially in people who have already had risk factors or symptoms. It is not a diagnostic tool. On its own, it doesn't tell you if your heart is healthy or not. And it's not a cause of heart disease. It's a potential marker, not a mechanism. So calling Frank's crease a definitive sign of heart disease would be much too strong a claim at this stage. And hopefully we're going to all put it to rights when we see these things on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Let's put everybody's mind at risk. It does not mean you have heart disease. But why does the crease even appear? Researchers don't fully understand this. Why does it develop? As I said, I thought mine was just because I wore too heavy earrings when I was younger. But there are several theories that exist at the moment. It may be linked to changes in small blood vessels or elastic tissue, similar to the changes seen in early artery disease. It could relate to skin aging, collagen changes, or other factors that aren't necessarily related to heart disease. At present, science hasn't pinpointed a single cause, and it's likely involves more than just one biological process. So what should you do if you notice a crease? First, no judgment, no panic. Your earlobe can have lines from many non-cardiac reasons. As I said, aging, skin genetics, weight changes, etc. And I'm guessing, on the most part, everyone listening to me today already has coronary artery disease in some form or other. I'd love to know how many of us have this mark and how many don't. So remember to pop over to my Facebook group and add your photo to mine. That's www.myheartandmind.co.uk/community. As I said, I've got it on both my ears. But if you're listening and you don't have heart disease, here's a practical approach. 1. Think about the overall risk, not just the crease. Ask yourself, do you have high blood pressure? Do you have diabetes? Do you have a family history of heart disease? Do you have high cholesterol? And do you have a smoking history? Those are all proven risk factors that matter far more than an earlobe crease. 2. Consider that this crease is a prompt, not a prediction. If noticing the crease makes you think, I haven't checked my heart health in a while, then that's a good thing. Use curiosity as a motivation to update your health picture. And thirdly, talk to your doctor or a clinician. Your doctor is the only one that can help you interpret your cardiovascular risk using validated tools, not just the crease in your ear. So my calming takeaway for today is Frank's crease isn't a secret heart attack alarm, and it isn't magical either. It might be a small clue that nudges some clinicians or researchers to think about cardiovascular risk more carefully, but by itself, it is not a reliable marker for diagnosing heart disease. Your heart story is written in the whole of your health history. Your blood work, your blood pressure, lipid levels, your lifestyle, your symptoms, not solely on the folds of your earlobe. So, if you have any questions about your heart health, crease or no crease, the best first step is a conversation with the people who know you and your heart history. Use today's information to feel informed and empowered, not anxious. And join me in a campaign of making sure that everybody knows that Frank's crease is not a definitive sign of heart disease. If you'd like to look into further evidence, I've included some links in the show notes below and on my website. So that just leaves me to say thank you. Thank you for spending this time with me today. And if this episode resonated with you, if it gave you hope or made you feel a little less alone, please share it with someone who might need to hear it too. Please share to any groups or forums you belong to, as the more people that hear about my podcast, the more people can start to feel like they can live their lives happy and confident again. You can find the full collection of all my articles and podcast episodes on my website, www.myheartandmind.co.uk/blog. And lastly, may I remind you that you are loved more than you will ever know. You are admired by more people than you'd ever expect. You are worthy of joy and happiness. You are enough. Until next time, take care of your heart and your mind. Speak to you soon. And as we say goodbye, a quick but important reminder. This podcast is intended to support and complement your medical care. It is not a replacement. I'm not providing medical advice, diagnosis or treatment. If you have any concerns about your heart, your health or any other symptoms that you're experiencing, please seek the advice from your GP, cardiologist or emergency services immediately. Always listen to your body and always follow the guidance of your healthcare team.